Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. It's the Leeds United 1, Norwich City 0. Instant match reaction with myself, Browney, and also Jason. I think we can all let out, a huge sigh of relief after that one. A huge, huge victory for Leeds. An incredibly tense game. Jason, I mean, is it going to be like this for the remainder of the season now? Because I don't know if I'm cut out for this. I mean, we've got 18 games to go and we knew we had this opportunity to cut that lead down to the top. Yes, the teams above us are going to have that game in hand, but I mean, like Saturday's result or Sunday's result, it just feels so huge to get over the line, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the facts are, we've said all season long that the biggest problem that we've had is that we don't win games like that one today. We weren't at as flowing best, but we were still good enough to compete, and it were a 50-50 game. Large parts of the game, Norwich had possession, but we defended extremely well. And earlier on in the season, we wouldn't have won that game. We'd have ended up coming out with a 1-0 loss or drawing the game 0-0. But tonight we did the business. So often we haven't. I think a Stoke away, especially when we really should have gone and won the 3 points that night. Coventry at home, we just didn't hold out, even though we were comfortable in that game. It ended up being a 1-1 draw. And for me, I love these results in the aftermath. Because I think it says as much about where you're at than it does just blowing teams away every week. Norwich are a good side. They've got some really, really good players. Sarah, Rowe, who was kept extremely quiet tonight, by the way. I mean, he barely even had a touch. Hernandez came off the bench. I thought Nunes in the midfield was excellent. I thought he dictated the play. McLean's an underrated player. They've got Jack Stacey down the right, who's a Premier League right back only last season. Yeah, they've got some good players. So for me, I think tonight was an excellent result, on the back of a busy fixture schedule. Players, we said before we came on air that it did look like there was a few heavy legs in there tonight. And even still, we still grinded the result out. Players putting bodies on the line. Unfortunately, we have seen a couple of knocks. I would imagine that we will be without Archie and James at the weekend, which is fine. It's an FA Cup game, but then where does that lie for the next league game? But all that said, fantastic result. I think we're gonna have other nights like that between now and the end of the season. But I'm okay if we come out on the right side of it. I don't expect us to just blow teams away every week. We just can't do that. But I think tonight was huge. Getting them 3 points is absolutely massive. We go into the game against Bristol City now knowing a win takes a second. And sure, 2 games in hand, I get it. They've got the opportunity to then, reclaim them spots of Ipswich and Southampton, but it's a different state of play, knowing that you have to go into that game to then take that position back. I think it's a huge result.
Yeah, indeed. Digler, thanks for your comment. It's good to see us grinding out a result. Guys, please like the video and get your comments in how you're feeling after that one. Yeah, indeed. It's amazing how we've seen this team kind of develop over this season. And obviously Farker coming in, he's got a reputation for a bit of a slow burn and then things really, catch fire. I mean, it's an incredible start to this year. We've won every game this year. Leeds has never done that in its history.
First time.
It's showing tremendous consistency at the moment. And I do feel like, especially winning on Sunday and tonight, I mean, it was a quick turnaround as well. Don't forget, Sunday to Wednesday, it's not much time. And like you say, there was a bit of legginess, I thought, certainly. But to get through that game, I mean, Norwich only had one shot on target the entire game, by the way. I mean, it probably felt like they were kind of creating more than they actually were because they had a largely dominant part of that second half. We started off so brightly in that second half and then they got a foothold and, we felt that pressure. But actually when you probably look at it the next day, you think, well, they didn't hurt us really, they didn't really hurt us, and I thought it was a tremendous defensive performance, if anything.
They had so much of the ball around without doing anything with it. And sure, it does then feel like pressure. But for me, it always felt like we were the ones that were actually more dangerous because if we won the ball high up the pitch, which we did 3 or 4 times, if we'd have been a little bit more clinical with the pass before the finish, we'd have finished them off 2 or 3. And even when we were then out of possession deep into our half, and, the crowd are getting on the back of the players and stuff, excuse me, I never felt like we were out of control. I always felt like we were solid. Like I said, they never got in behind us. Melia didn't have anything to do. And no concerns for me. There's going to be parts of the game where you have to defend against good teams, and we did that. We did it excellently, to be honest. And no concern at all. Sure, you don't want to be out of possession for long periods of the game, but at the same time, against good teams, you're going to have times where you're out of possession. They've got some real decent deep lying playmakers in McLean and Nunes who picked it up, were popping it about, but they were in danger. They weren't in dangerous areas. So for me, no concern really.
No, and he's not one for rotation, is he, really, Farker? I mean, you're looking at that team and it's the same starting 11 from the weekend, and he seems to have really settled on this team so far. I mean, Gruev, who I thought was excellent again.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the touches, the distribution, the ground covered, I thought he was tremendous again.
Very smart.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a set team. I mean, I think Firpo's been, it was another decent game from Firpo this evening.
I thought he defended well today as well. I thought he defended well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, it's all coming together in that sense. I mean, the first half, I'm struggling to even remember the first half because that second half was so kind of tense. But let's talk about the goal because, I mean, it was just what a lovely, lovely goal. Dan James, I mean, if we don't know what the injury is going to be, we're going to miss him sorely. I mean, a peach of a cross, and Bamford, I mean, the timing of the jump, the direction, I mean, just absolute quality, wasn't it?
Great finish, mate. I mean, again, any sort of target man striker would be very proud of that as a finish, to generate the power and enough power and direction to put it back across goal. It was perfect. And, Dan James has come on so much because that delivery was fabulous. It was an excellent delivery. We're actually seeing him in his proper position for really the first sustained period of time in a Leeds shirt. So, we always kind of scoffed at his composure and his technical ability to be able to pick that pass. And all season he's done it. He's now up to 16 goal contributions for the season. I mean, it's incredible. It's an incredible turnaround. He deserves it so much. And you know what Pat does as well? He didn't have the greatest game tonight, but he still linked up play far better than...
Can I just say on Pat, I thought his on-the-ball work against Preston was really poor at the weekend, giving the ball away. I thought his on-the-ball work tonight was much better in terms of little layoffs, passing, not losing the ball. I thought it was much better tonight.
He had a couple of really nice moments with Gio. The moment with Gio quite late on the right side. I mean, Gio's just having fun all the time. But he just links the play up so much better than Perrault or Rutter does in that 9 role. For me, while he's fit, I think is as good as the first name on the team sheet because it changes the way that we play, mate. It allows us to go along. There were a moment where Ampadu picked it up quite late on into the second half, maybe 85th minute, something like that, and played a left foot ball towards Bamford, and Bamford just shoved the defender off, and he didn't win the ball, but it allowed the ball to then bounce and then we were allowed to then put pressure on them up in their pitch, or up in their half of the pitch, which Perrault just wouldn't do. It'd get headed away by Gibson, and we're on the defence again. So it's little things sometimes that you take for granted. I think we've looked so much better since Pat's come in. So much better. But the goal was great, mate. Fantastic from a technical point of view from both of them. Great movement by Pat, and 4 in 5.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, talk about redemption stories. I mean, it just continues, doesn't it, really? I mean, if you like we said on previous streams a couple of months ago, you would never have thought this at all. But since that wonder goal against Peterborough, it's just been on the up. And, you got to think, Perrault's there, sat on the bench, penny for his thoughts tonight, because it's not going to be easy getting back into this team if he can, because Gio, you can't drop Gio. I mean, I know, sometimes, he can overplay it a little bit. We know that. But, I mean, the strength, technique, the vision, I mean, it's just there in absolute buckets, and I thought Somerville as well. I thought Somerville was back to his sharp best tonight as well. I know he had that shot that were a bit kind of thing, but I felt like he was really back on it tonight.
He just scares defenders to death, doesn't he? I think depends on what you're comparing it to. I think his heights, I think he would still expect to have more influence over the game, but you can't be without him. And for me, he's levels above Nonto or Jadon Anthony, as is Dan James. The productivity that they give. I think just coming to the Pirro point, I think Pirro will probably play at the weekend. I would imagine that Pirro will probably start at the weekend because I think there's a lot of legs that need a rest. And I do think there'll be some concern that the injuries and the fatigue and the game, especially with this situation with the transfer window and where we're at, I can't. I'm losing the will to kind of follow it at the moment because 1 minute we're signing X player and then next, like an hour later, he's gone somewhere else, and it's a bit crazy at the moment. But we'll come to that. I think Pirro's got a long way to kind of find his way back into this team if everybody's fit. It's been said right from pre-season whether he'd fit this system and fit the role. And for me, it's now very clear and obvious that he doesn't fit this team as a 10. And how can he then adapt his game to fit it as a 9, I think is the real question. I think he can. I don't know whether he will or not, but I think he can. What Pat gives us overall is at the moment just far more productivity from the overall, what we need from a number 9 overall, basically.
Yeah, exactly. We lost Dan James at half-time to an injury, and we're waiting to see if there's any post-match comments from Farke to update us with that. Good news, I think there's a few pictures of Gray going around on Twitter at end celebrating on the pitch, and he looks kind of in fine fettle, so hopefully Gray's okay. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one going forward. I mean, we saw Anthony come on, and he obviously it's a difficult time for him personally, which we can appreciate. And, perhaps it's not gone the way he thought it may have gone coming to Leeds on loan. He was playing for Bournemouth at the start of the season. He was tearing it up last season in the Championship. Again, he's one of those players that is not getting much game time because Farke just seems to like to stick to the same team as much as possible for consistency, which, on nights like this, you can kind of understand. And, to be fair to Anthony, when he came on, he showed a really couple of nice glimpses, couple of nice moves, but then his performance didn't really kind of stay at that level throughout. Gave another bit of a daft free kick away at the end as well, which he did against Preston at the weekend. It's interesting because, I mean, we will see rotation at the weekend, and there's a couple of positions where you're thinking, if we get a couple of injuries or we're a little bit short, I mean, like centre-back, I'd love to see Ampadu, Rodon out of the team, rested. I mean, I would really love to see
Ampadu will start
out of the team. Well, he will, yeah, he absolutely will. I just feel that, you want to protect them as much as possible. Unfortunately, with the FA Cup, it's second fiddle. I mean, obviously, the day of the game, you want to win, and it's exciting and everything. And if you get through the rounds, brilliant. But I just feel like, I want to protect that team for the league, really.
I agree with you, mate. I think without throwing the game, I think we need to heavily rotate this squad because the game against Bristol City on Friday night is not going to be easy. That's an extremely tough place to go. They played well against us at Ellen Road, made us really work for it. Similar game to tonight, if I remember rightly. So, I would love to see 6, 7, 8 changes. There might be a few that you can keep in there. Although, like Ampadu, especially with him playing centre-back, he may be okay because he's not being asked to do the job of a centre midfielder right now at centre-back. He's probably got the stamina to carry on pushing through. But it's the risk and the worry around injuries, isn't it? And what will happen in the game. But I would imagine that will probably dictate the game against Plymouth, that they're more of a struggling side in the division. So I can understand 1 or 2 starting, but I'd like to see starts for Joseph, Pirro, Nonto if he's available, Jadon Anthony comes in again. No risks to these players that have got knocks. Archie and James should be nowhere near the team. If they're unable to finish 90 minutes, they should be nowhere near it. And I just think that makes sense. Firpo, I would bring him out and I'd play Sam Byram. At the moment, Firpo's gaining a good head of steam, and I'm more than happy to say, we're getting good produce out of Junior Firpo right now. He's still not the answer long term for me, but his performances right now are decent. So let's, his injury record's a problem, and we need to make sure we're protecting him. It's so nice to have a natural left footer down that side. The only person that really I wouldn't be bothered if he starts or not is Meslier, because he has next to nothing to do really. In the games, does he? He just has next to nothing to do.
There's when he had a flap in the first half at a corner or a cross. I can't remember, and it was like, whoa, just steady on.
Yeah, Rodon needs to come out as well. Like,
Rodon's got to come out for me.
I feel so worried whenever I see anything happen to Rodon, because even though I think Dan James is probably our best player right now in terms of overall output, I feel like we can deal with his loss easier than we would be able to deal with the Joe Rodon loss. He's the most important player in the whole team because it shifts the whole team around. You've then got Cooper starting, and or Stroik coming back and playing right centre back, or Cresswell, because it don't look like he's going to get any game time. So for me, he's key. He just shouldn't start.
Yeah, it can't be understated, can it? Just what a rock this guy has been since coming in. I mean, you talk about perfect signings. He's absolutely been the perfect signing for us. Exactly what we needed in that centre back, our best central defender by some way. So vital. And when he went down in that second half, my heart jumped. I was like, oh, please no, because we saw against Southampton, he was out of that team, and we got stuffed, and
he's a beast, mate. He's an absolute beast. He's a rock. He's fantastic in the air. I don't know why he doesn't score more goals, because defensively he's so good in the air. But he's never scored a professional goal, which I just find bizarre. Like he's never managed to climb high on the attack. But I think his distribution's decent. I think his recovery pace. I mean, he managed to get back goal side. Was it first half or second half? But he recovered brilliantly and managed to pick the ball away. I think it was first half. I think he's excellent. I think he's arguably the best centre-back in the division. I think he's definitely in the top 2 or 3. Can certainly see why Spurs spent all that money for him to take him away from Swansea, only a couple of years ago. Yeah. I think he's an absolute beast. And he puts his body on the line. He's constantly in front of shots. So the one that he took right in the southern region in that second half, and he just continues. And yeah, love him. He's as close to a top centre-back that we've had since Ben White. And, the comparisons are fair because they're very similar profiles and look very similar. Ben White was better on the ball, I would say, than Joe Rodon, probably a little bit quicker, but I would argue that Joe Rodon's a better old-school defender than Ben White was. I love Ben White.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, I was going to bring up the Ben White thing, because Ben White, his impact in the promotion year was incredible. We were desperate to get him on a permanent, and it didn't happen, unfortunately. And he was a superb defender for us, and we all fell in love with the loan signing, which is always a dangerous thing to do. I agree completely. I think Joe Rodon, he's kind of got that old-fashioned central defender about him. It's winning everything, body on the line, but he is also technically decent, and he recovery pace, and he's okay on distribution-wise. And I think his impact's just as big as Ben White's, just 100%. As big. And by the end of the season, it might even turn out that it's more. I mean, he's coming into a defence, don't forget, this season that, it was in tatters. I mean, that's putting it lightly. It was a defence that had broken records for conceding goals. And this guy's come in and just breathed confidence into it. He's made Stroik better. He's just made the whole thing better.
He's never happy either, is he? No, when you watch him, he's never happy. No. He's a perfectionist. He's constantly at him. Yeah, and he's a leader without having the captain's armband on. I rate him very, very highly. He's a Premier League centre back. He won't be playing in the Championship next season. No, one way or another. There's no way.
No, absolutely not. And hopefully we can get promoted and get him on a permanent. I think because it's someone you want to see in the team if we do. Elsewhere on the pitch, then, Jayson, we've mentioned him briefly already, but Rutter, some of the stuff that he was doing this evening, it's just out of this world, isn't it? The radio commentary I was listening to, it was a bit Norwich slanted, shall we say, even though Bradley Johnson was on it.
I weren't very happy with the we and them.
Yeah.
Bradley, you played more games for Leeds and Norwich, right? I'm pretty sure.
He's employed by them tonight, though, isn't he? I'm sure.
We and them. Who's them? Bradley, come on.
But there was a bit where it kind of, they nearly got a chance and he went, oh. I was like, no, Bradley, don't do that. But yeah, I mean, they were kind of waxing lyrical about Rutter and the skills and the trickery. I mean, they always get the digging about 36 million and nobody else in the Championship's got all like that. They always have to mention that. But yeah, what a fantastic talent, and I just wish he'd get more goals.
He's just a phenomenon, isn't he? I mean, he's so much fun to watch. I wish he'd stop doing the flicky hand thing when he gets put down, because that really does me head in. It's like, we get it, Gio, you've took a knock. And he's always okay within seconds.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just a modern...
the on floor,
he's giving it this, what's he doing? But yeah, he's excellent, mate. I do think, and Daniel Farke made points of this earlier on in the season, that he needs to pick and choose the moments when to do it. There were a moment where he did it quite late on. I think we were about 95th minute. And he took 3 players on and he'd done great, but then make the pass to Pat. Pat was open and he tried to beat another one and then we gave the ball away. And, he is gonna make the wrong decisions at times, but it's just adding that to his game that will really set him up. And obviously his finishing ability. If he had that, Browney, he wouldn't be playing in the Championship. It'd be worth 50-60 million and he'd be playing in the Premier League. So, yeah, you have to kind of be accepting that you have to polish these diamonds a little bit if you're going to have them at this level. But it was phenomenal to watch tonight. I thought it was excellent.
Archie at right back. I mean, obviously it's a strange transfer window, like you kind of alluded to earlier about this kind of players linked. They're signing on the dotted line, and then 5 seconds later they're going to Hull. It seems like everyone's going to Hull for some reason. I don't know what's going on. And we don't know if anything's actually going to get done. We've only got about a week left now to the transfer window closing. Archie, hopefully Archie's okay. I mean, I'm torn with Archie a bit because I'd love to see us get a right back specialist in, but I kind of want to see how good he can get in this role a little bit as well, because you can see the improvement almost game on game at the moment. He's just so composed. He's so technically gifted. Never panics.
He's my man of the match today.
Yeah, it was superb.
It was my man of the match today. I thought he didn't get beat, and bear in mind that their most threatening players are down the wings. He boxed them off. He was composed. The tackle that he made on the counter on Odell Hernandez was, key.
That was incredible.
But he never looked uncomfortable. He was super composed. His ability to then run the ball back out of play again. For 17 to be able to do it. And I've been critical of him at times this season because I treat him exactly the same as every other player. If he's going to play in the first team, he then should be held to them standards. And he's had moments this season where he's not played well, but all players have that. And he's more, every week he just shows more and more that he's more than capable to be the right back for a top Championship side right now. It makes our, January transfer window really, really awkward and interesting at the same time, because the problem that we've got is that we can't promise any of these signings guaranteed first team football. And if you're asking these players to come down from the Premier League to play in the Championship, take Ryan Giles as an example. If Ryan Giles is going to sit on the bench at Luton, he might as well sit on... if he's going to sit on the bench at Leeds, he might as well sit on the bench at Luton. What's the point in him coming to us if he's been told by Daniel Farke, you're not going to play Firpo's fit until you earn the spot, or Byram's fit, you're not going to play until you get there. You might as well sit and fight for his place at Luton. But the conversations they'll be having with Rossini at Hull is, you're my number one man. You're going to play left back. You're going to play every week. And the same goes for Fabio Carvalho. There was no way that we could guarantee him a spot over Dan James and Somerville. So you're left in this tricky position, because then you're left with players that maybe not good enough. Do you then bother signing them? Where do they fit in the squad? Or you're left with an unhappy player that is then making up a spot for no reason. So it's a really tricky one. And the Ben Godfrey news is super interesting. I mean, this morning it sounded like he weren't going to sign. Then at midday-ish, it sounds like he was boxed off, done. It was almost confirmed. Now it sounds like it's gone back the other way again, and he's going to Genoa. So
say hi to Spence for us.
Say hi to Jed while you're there. But he'd be the perfect signing because he can play in all three positions. He can play centre back, right back, and left back. So the likelihood is he gets minutes, he works his way into the team in one of them spots. I understand why they're having a hard time with it, mate. I really do.
There's also the consideration as well that with Archie, if you can get him through that right back position for the season and he's good enough and we get promoted, then you can look at that market and go, right, we can really attack this. Now, if you're committing to, loan with obligation to buy and you're getting lower Premier League players or players that have done it in the Championship and then gone to a Premier League team, but then have got bumped off, and you're committing to that player and you get them on loan for 6 months and you're spending 10, 15, whatever it might be, millions of pounds on them, you're gonna hurt yourself with P&S going forward. And this is a huge problem. I mean, it's crazy to think because, we have got, billionaire owners when you look at it all together and they're capped on what they can spend because of this P&S situation. And, there might be that forward thinking, can this squad as it is get us promoted? And we might just have that bit more wiggle room than when we get up to actually to attack these areas that we really need.
You're 100% spot on. This is where the problem is that if we go out and make the wrong signing now, it could drastically affect us in the future for either Championship or Premier League. More, I think they're more thinking, we get it wrong now, we won't be able to invest in the way that we will need to in the Premier League, because this team definitely needs a lot of surgery if we're going to be playing Premier League football. It arguably needs a 30 or 40 million pound fee spending on a striker straight away. Boom. So it's a real tricky one. You can't make the wrong signing. If you make a loan signing, well, what can we offer them? Well, we can't offer you guaranteed first team football. Okay, well, I might as well stay where I am or move to an IE Hull. Or do we go out and make a permanent signing for a player that doesn't really want to play Championship football? They're only going to come with a guarantee of first team football, but then are they good enough to make that jump up if we then sign him? I think the perfect example of that is Connor Roberts. Connor Roberts is almost I would go out and sign Connor Roberts. I think it's a good Championship signing. But if we then do get promoted, arguably we're going to want a better right back. Burnley are using a better right back. So it puts you in a real tricky position because the pool of players that you're then looking at is so small. The likes of Ben Godfrey, who's played one game this season, arguably he could go into other bottom end Premier League teams or, AC Milan are interested in him. So then why is he going to come down and sign for Leeds? It makes it really, really tricky. And then anything lower than Ben Godfrey in quality isn't going to get minutes in the Leeds side. So then he might as well go and play for Sunderland or Hull or whoever. So it's a tricky one. I still think we'll make a signing, mate. I do think we'll make a signing because this squad is not strong enough to finish in the top two. I don't think. A couple of injuries and we've got some serious problems, especially around the back four. And if Firpo and Byram had perfect injury histories, I won't be saying that because I think then you could get through with Archie, Byram as a right back, and Shackle and maybe his third choice or whatever. And then on the other side, you'd have Firpo and Byram who could fit in there. But you cannot rely on them to be fit for the rest of the season.
No, absolutely not. I think, I hope the club can do something there. Because, it's like the other day I was, I've seen all this stuff about Leeds have got to shift some wages. But then, like you said, well, we've already cleared off Spence now. We've cleared off Ayling. Yeah. Surely there is some wiggle room, but then it's, if fees are attached and blah, 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 it can get a bit messy. Because like you say, we're only a couple of injuries away like in that situation, and it does radically change things for us, especially in that back line. We've been confident at the top end of the pitch, but like the wingers situation, but then you've seen the drop off from James to Anthony tonight, and it's a bit of a tricky one. Let's see if there's been any post-match comments from Farker. A word on Norwich, by the way, as well. You can see how they've kind of they've improved, haven't they? So much
they were good
since they were we last played them, because I think last time we played them, were they going through a sticky patch at that point, and Wagner had been under a bit of pressure, hadn't they?
And obviously we came from 2-0 down that day, but I think that was more to do with the way that we played that day, more than them. Maybe the same could be said for them in the second half, because they were very passive and allowed us to kind of run over them a little bit that day in the second half. But I thought they were good today. I thought they were really good without having a real significant kind of moments in the box, but I think that were a lot to do with how well we defended. I love the Gruev Ampadu Rodon situation where they fall into a back three, and we were super solid today. And I think testament to our boys, because Norwich certainly put a lot of pressure on. They kept the ball really, really well. I think if Rowe and the other winger, forget his name now, had better days, they may have created one or two more opportunities. They probably should have scored at the end of the first half. And they had a big moment at the end of the first half, didn't they? That they put wide. Yeah. But we did enough, mate. We did enough. But fair play to Norwich. Yeah, they were decent.
Arthur here, thanks for your comment, mate. Ref, what was he on? Terrible at the end. I mean, what's going on there? I just don't understand. It's not our free kick. We can burst up the pitch, put the game to bed, and he blows up to pull it back. I mean,
he wasn't a patch on as bad as the referee at the weekend.
No, I didn't think he was. No,
but
I don't think he was.
I mean, first off, before we come to that, how was the only 3 minutes at the end of that half, by the way? and I mean, I'm glad there was, but what on earth was that as a decision? There'd been about 4 different sub breaks, plus we'd had a couple of injuries. Like, there was no way that there should have been only 3 minutes. If that were the other way around, I'd have been going absolutely ballistic.
Yeah.
But then that decision, I mean, I made the point in the group about the Haaland one for City when the referee didn't blow it and then did blow it on the counter a few weeks ago now. It was very similar to that, but a bit further back. And the goalkeeper was up. Like, you watch the referee, Rota turns away, spins away, and he's about to run away, and then the referee blows. It's unbelievable. It's an unbelievably bad decision. But thankfully, it didn't cost us. I mean, we were 3-on-1 with no goalkeeper. It was just bizarre. It was a bizarre decision, but thankfully, it didn't cost us. But I didn't think the referee had a terrible performance, if I'm honest. No. The standard of refereeing in this division is hilarious. It's so bad. But it weren't a patch on as bad as the weekend for me.
No, frustrating. It would have been nice to wrap it up if we'd have done that. It's always fun seeing a goal like that as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Miles out. One thing I do want to mention, we've talked about it briefly before we went on air, and Adam Pope from BBC Radio Leeds tweeted about how the atmosphere at halftime was a bit flat, intense, that kind of weird combination. And although it wasn't exactly clear the way we were listening to it, exactly what that atmosphere was like tonight, you can kind of put yourself in that shoe and you could hear the groans coming on. And it's kind of fascinating because it's not going to help, is it? If it's so tense in the stadium like that. At that point, I was thinking, there's no real reason. I know I'm not in the stadium, but I was like, there's no real reason to be so kind of about it, because we were winning, we were fairly comfortable. All right, we didn't have the ball for that period of time, but it's not going to help. It's not going to help. I just think it's going to ramp up the pressure on the players. But hey, I wasn't in the stadium, so
Browney, I think it comes back to this. I've spoke about this before, and I'm always a little bit like wary of speaking about it because I feel like people might take shots at me when I say this. But there's a bit of an arrogance to our fan base, especially since we've come back down, in that we should just be turning up and blowing all these teams away. Yeah. We should be perfect every minute. We should win 3 or 4-0. We're Leeds United. You're crap. You're Norwich. Like, you've been in the Championship a few years now. Like, we're relegated Premier League, and we're just going to win. Like, and the facts are, it's just not like that. That's not the way that football's ever played. Look at Man City and the run that they've gone through recently, and they're the best team in the world. There's 2 teams that are setting up to try and win a game of football, and Norwich are a good side. And without the ball for long periods of time in that second half, we were never under threat. We were never really under any pressure. The team defended extremely well. And when the fans are groaning and moaning, yeah, sure, you don't want to give the ball away when you've won it back and been out of possession for a couple of minutes. But moaning and groaning about it, that the boys obviously want the possession of the ball. That's not going to help. And I understand that it's, fans are always like that at all sorts of different levels and all sorts of different clubs. But I sometimes feel like as home fans, we do make it more difficult than we need to. I just don't get it. If we were 3-0 down, fine, get it. But we're not. We're 1-0 up. And what are we moaning and groaning at? I just don't get it. Personally, my opinion.
Yeah, Glenn, thanks for your comment, mate. I think the Kop needs to take more responsibility for atmosphere. Even when I started going in the 80s, we all looked for the Kop to dictate the mood. Couple of the comments coming in here. Michael, need to rest a number of the Leeds players for the FA Cup against Plymouth. 2 hard-fought back-to-back wins at ER, so need to give fringe players a run out on Saturday. Darko can't play against Leeds. Yeah, I mean, me and Jason touched on that earlier. I think, I'm really hoping we can rest some players. Diggler, thankfully, the pressure has been lifted after tonight's result. If we had lost or drawn, the pressure would have been on us. I don't know. I think that pressure will come back around pretty quickly for every game. It's like the season we went up and it was, when we came back from lockdown, it was like the pressure on every game was just so huge.
It's going to be like this every week. It's going to be like this every week because Southampton especially are just a juggernaut and they're just going to keep on most weeks picking up points. Yeah. So every week we're going to feel like we need to get another 3. I do think that it's been a smart move by the club to bring this fixture forward rather than postponing it back. Yeah. I think it's really, really smart. It allows us to put ourselves in a position where we will be second for the first time this season if we go away and win next Friday. I don't care whether it's with 2 games in hand or not. I'd rather have the points on the board because ultimately you have to play them games. The fact that we've been able to construct a way in which we've taken 6 points if we beat Bristol and take 6 points and then be second going into Southampton and Ipswich's games, I think is great. I take that all day, every day. I really feel like we will beat Bristol City. I think it'll be a big spur on for the boys next Friday. I think it'll be close. I think it'll be tight again. It'll be difficult. But, this is Daniel Farke's time to shine for me. This is where he's notoriously been very good in the past. 4 clean sheets out of 5 this year, 5 wins out of 5. We can't ask for any more. And not only that, but the performances have been pretty decent too.
Yeah.
On the whole. So...
Yeah, I mean, we had that wobble where we lost the back-to-back games, obviously, and it was a bit doom and gloom, and suddenly there was a big points gap. Well, we've narrowed that down now. We've cut away at it, and I think you're right. I think that Friday night game against Bristol. I mean, it'll be edge of the seat stuff because that potential to get into that top 2. We've never seen a championship year like this, have we? With 4 teams that accumulated so many points. The 3 teams that got relegated from the Premier League this season, 3 huge teams, 3 teams that, 2 especially that were established Premier League teams, one that had won the bloody Premier League, 8 years ago. And then Leeds, who were supposed to be the fallen giants who were coming back up. We knew it was going to be absolutely rock hard this season, didn't we?
Browney, we're in a position where we might be finding that we're saying you need to finish on over 100 points to finish second. That's how crazy it is. We've accumulated, I think it's 58 points now. Is that right? Is that what we're on? And we've got
57.
57. I think we've got 58 left to play for. It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts how strong the top 4 are. Ipswich, I think they're done. I think they're done as a real threat for the top 2. I know they're still in there and they still managed to pull out their points, but they're on a really bad run now. I think it's 1 win in 6. We're seeing that it's catching up with them, and it makes sense that it would. They've still got a strong, their team really is what won them the division last season with a couple of additions here and there, and the strength of the top 3 that got relegated is so big. The pulling power is so big. I can't see them staying with it, but Southampton, a real problem. The quicker that they can lose a game again, the better.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's fascinating when you look at that league table as well. Leeds have got their second best goal difference in the division with 25, but Ipswich, Southampton and Leeds sitting there with 17 wins so far from 28 games. It's absolutely bonkers.
I would argue that, just to skip points there, that it's going to be even stronger next season. I would argue the opposite, because I would think that the 3 relegated teams are going to be Sheffield United, Luton and Burnley, and they're all crap. I would imagine that Luton will just go back into the abyss of mid-table in the Championship, because I think it's just a freak that they've ended up going up. Sheffield United have got huge money issues, and Burnley will probably be up and around there. But look at how easy Burnley found the division last season. They wouldn't have found it that easy this season. No chance.
No, they won't. No.
So I think next season, the problem for us with doing it next season is what will come for us and where we're going to be in 12 months. Well, it's now 6 months' time, because we're not going to have the same strength that we do now. The whole division will take a backward step with Southampton and Leicester going up, and then us kind of not being back on level playing field, but we would lose 5 or 6 of the real key ingredients of what makes this team so strong.
Yeah, absolutely. You'd like to think we'd still have a good chance, but I totally agree. Southampton, do you know their next 2 league games are against?
Go on.
Rotherham and our mates down the road, Huddersfield. I know.
Banana skins.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it gets a little bit tougher for them after that. So then they've got an away trip to Bristol themselves. They've got West Brom, Hull after that as well. I mean, that 4th of May fixture, though, against Leeds at Ellen Road.
Yeah.
I mean, could it go down to that? I mean,
Browney, they've got, Norwich away, West Brom away, Ipswich away, Leicester away, and Leeds away before the end of the season. So I do think that Southampton are going to lose games, and I think they're going to drop points. And I do feel like that game at the end of the season could well be vital. It'll be really, really interesting to see what happens that day. But it's going to be exciting. I've just seen a few comments coming back and forward. The potential points deductions for Forest and Everton. Sure, I don't think Everton are going to get another points deduction this season. Let's talk about it. Forest, however, if they do, and they end up going down, you'll probably see them have back-to-back relegations, because their monetary situation is going to be in the mud. But that only further strengthens my point about how weak the division could well be next season, because I would argue that Forest going down instead of Burnley would make this division even weaker, because Forest are in the mud if they go down. Apparently, there's no relegation release clauses in any of their contracts, and there's also no relegation wage deductions in any of the contracts either. So you're going to have the likes of Chris Wood in the Championship on $100,000 a week. So you're going to have some serious monetary issues going on there. So Everton won't go down. They just won't. They're so lucky, but they're too good this year. They're too good this season. They've got a minus 10 point deduction. You won't even know about it. They've just kind of wiped it out. The bottom 3 are just too weak. And I think Nuno will have enough to keep Forest up as well. But just my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is going to be the talk going forward, isn't it, really, Jason, now, because it's all about that promotion. And, it took a while for this season to get going, but, we're going to get to the business end. We're nearly in the 30-game mark now, and it's crunch, isn't it? It's absolute crunch. Are your nerves going to hold up for this, Jason, do you think? Are you ready? Are you ready for this, what's coming in the next couple of months?
You know what, though, Brandon? We were talking about it the other day, and I think I've dealt with this season very differently to you, because I don't go into the games like... It's not the same as when we were going up under Bielsa, especially the season before COVID. Every week I was sweating and I was, feeling sick about it. And this time I feel a little bit differently about it. Most weeks I'm going into the games, enjoying the experience, expecting to win. It's nice after the last 2 seasons of being at the wrong end of the Premier League. And I'm really enjoying it. Now it's going to start ramping up, because as it gets closer and closer to the end of the season, we're all going to start feeling more anxiety and more, kind of dread about anything that goes wrong. We've been there enough times, we're experiencing it, aren't we? So I'm ready for it. But I mean, I am trying to enjoy it as much as possible. There's a lot to enjoy. We're getting to watch some great players at this level, week in, week out. We're winning most of those games. We go into every single game expecting to win, which we haven't done for a number of years. It's enjoyable most of the time.
Well, we watched. I mean, because you're going to have to go back a few years, and the teams that we watched in the Championship, Leeds, abysmal. Total mid-table fodder. I think what it is with me, for me, it was supposed to be, we got back to the Premier League with Bielsa, and we should be where Aston Villa, Brighton, Brentford, that for me is where we should have been. And it was so hard these last 2 years that I don't know, I was so frustrated with it and so disappointed and annoyed that we got ourselves relegated, that this season it was almost like, I don't know, it was like we just have to go back up.
Yeah.
But then the reality is you've got to go and win 2 games a week. And because we fell behind so quickly and it's felt like we're chasing. And now we've actually got to a point where we can kind of see it a little bit.
It's there,
it's just building again.
I sent you the league table earlier without the first 3 games of the season in, because we didn't win any of the first 3 games of the season. We're second without them first 3 games. The draw against Cardiff, the draw against West Brom, I think it won. The loss against Birmingham, I think they were his first 3 or something like that. And since then, between then and now, we would be second in the division, something like 4 points behind Leicester. That levels of consistency is pretty nuts. And we've lost games along the way: Stoke, West Brom, Preston away. We've lost all them games, and we would still be in that position. So we've had a fantastic season, really. And in any other championship reincarnation, we're in the top 2. We're in the top 2, so we can't be down about it just because Leicester and Ipswich and now Southampton have just been freaks. We're still doing extremely well considering where we were in the summer. We can hark back about the past. We should be in the Premier League, really. If we'd have stayed up last season, I've no doubt that the 49ers would have got their act together this season and meant, comfortably seen us to 12th, 13th in the league, whether that's with Daniel Farker or with another manager that had been, able to come in. We'd probably go and get Iriola or something like that. We probably are in a completely different position, but the facts are Radrizzani got it wrong and we're not. This we're building over the last 2 seasons. It's not just last season, it was the season before as well. The land lies now in that, just like many other teams before us that have got promoted to the Premier League, they've come back down and we're in a strong position at this level because of it. And hopefully, we go up this season and we can properly rebuild into the Premier League club that we feel like we all should be. It's there for us. It's definitely there for us. The landscape is there for us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Skip, still early, but can you see Bamford and Pirot still being with us in the Premier League if we go up this season?
No.
I mean, I don't know how you shift Pirot. I know that you mentioned maybe a loan back to the Championship or someone else signing him or something. It'd be difficult, wouldn't it? I can't imagine it. I mean, Bamford, Premier League again. I don't know. I don't know.
The problem that you're going to have.
I don't think so. But
the problem you have with Pirot is the wages that he'll then probably be commanding for another team that's going to be expecting to take him in the Championship. But if let's just say we went up this season and Burnley came down, I could imagine Burnley picking him up for 10 million quid, 15 million quid. He's going to guarantee you goals, and I think if you play him in a certain tactic and structure, I think he'd still be a top signing for a top Championship team. So I would imagine, personally, I can see that that's how it's going to end up working out, is that Pirot will end up moving back to the Championship if we go up. I mean, could he play a role off the bench? Maybe, but I think, I said this earlier, one of the first places that we need to go and, really spend out on is the striker. If we do go up, we need to go and lay 30 million down on a striker that's going to keep you in the Premier League. But we're getting way beyond ourselves here. It is.
Yeah, absolutely. Glenn, would you forgo a cup run, or do you think we can fight on 2 fronts? Me personally, I would love a cup run. The league is absolutely the priority. I want to see players rested, but I think an opportunity is there, given that we're playing Plymouth and we can play with a bit of freedom because there's nothing, it's not life or death like every league game is. But yeah, no doubt, I would love a cup run. If we get through against Plymouth, I'm excited about the draw. And why not have both? Let's be greedy. Come on.
I think winning games is important. We don't want to feel like we're then a beatable at Ellen Road, because right now I feel like we're unbeatable at Ellen Road. So regardless of the team that goes out at the weekend, I want us to win that game because I don't want anybody to beat us there. It's important that Plymouth, who've not won away from home all season, by the way, don't come up to Ellen Road and beat us at the weekend. So I get it. But I don't want to see players risked that we need for Friday night. Squad is teetering on a problem with some of the injuries in certain positions. And I really, really don't want to see as league form dip because we've gone too strong in the cup. So we just need to be sensible.
Yeah.
Please be sensible.
I love this team because we have some amazing players. I really want to get promotion this season because I desperately don't want to lose the players. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's my biggest fear is if we don't get promoted, it's bye-bye Somerville. Rodon ends up not joining. could Rutter leave? You see a lot of that magic of the team leave. So yeah, I'm absolutely desperate for us to go back up. I know it's not a straight path to that, and there's a lot to be achieved between then and now. But hopefully we can do it and keep some of these players and then add to it as well. Obviously,
we lose 6 or 7, don't we? For me,
yeah.
we lose 6 or 7 straight off the bat. Rodon would go back. You'd lose Somerville. Rutter would go. Nonto would probably go. If Archie would be under threat, I think he'd probably stay another season. Melier'd go. Like you could pick this apart. I think Fairpole go in the summer regardless. Not that I'd be that bothered about that, but it's just another one that you'd have to, replace. Kamara and Ampadu would probably stay, but I'd say that Ampadu would be under threat. I could imagine that 15 million quid for Ampadu would be bandied about in the Premier League. He's a Premier League player. Strike would be under serious threat. So yeah, you're talking about picking this whole team apart, to be honest.
Yeah, you would. Michael, thanks for your comment. Clubs are feeling pressure due to scrutiny of FFP. Can't spend until they sell, like Newcastle, Wolves, Everton, Forest have overspent in the Championship. Wigan and Reading have faced points deduction. Yeah, it's a real tight wire at the moment. I mean, Almiron's leaving Newcastle, apparently. They've got to sell before they can buy, and they're the richest, owners in the world of a club. It's really coming home to roost, and I think, Leeds will certainly have one eye on that because, we did spend a lot of money in the Premier League. Yeah, we recouped a bit with Rafinha and Phillips, but we spent a fair bob too. We just didn't probably spend it correctly. Interesting one here from Mr. Dodo. FA Cup win and first place promotion, would that put Farker above Bielsa in terms of Leeds greats? Do you know what? If we win a trophy like an FA Cup
as a championship team,
it would be incredible. I mean, I've never seen us win a cup, obviously. I've only ever seen us go to one cup final. We got smashed to pieces. I hope in my lifetime it happens at some point, surely, please. He'd have to be a legend. Can he be above Bielsa? I don't know.
No. I mean, you see, I'm Bielsa's love child. I'd love him to be my granddad, right? He's my hero. But I do think that there's a certain stick that Daniel Farke gets hit with because he's not Bielsa. Yeah. And I've been critical of Farke this year, but people were still questioning him after the weekend, and I'm just like, what more do you want right now? Really, he's doing everything that he possibly can. The boys are clearly very together. There's a real connection back between the players and the fans after 2 really miserable seasons, especially last season. He's done a hell of a job. And, for me, he's never going to reach the pinnacle that Bielsa did because the football was so beautiful and what he brought together was so beautiful. And he did it with a team that had no right to do it. Click coming back from a loan and being bombed out, the likes of Berardi and Dallas then playing a different role, Alioski becoming a left back, all these stories, Calvin, who was an 8 and it became a 4 and went on to play for England, and just everything from Spygate and Ipswich and Very Good Davis and all the rest, just everything that made him so beautiful and amazing. He will always have a special place, I think, in all Leeds fans' hearts. But look, if Daniel Farke went on to win an FA Cup and get promoted, you'd have to say he's right up there. He needs to get his flowers. That's not going to happen. I think winning promotion would certainly give him a position within Leeds United fans that probably wouldn't have ever thought possible. I would love him. Well, I would love him to be what I think he thinks he is, which is a Premier League standard manager. Yeah, obviously, he didn't prove that at Norwich. I would love it if we did go up and he is good enough to keep us at that level and progress the club. I really would, but there's still them doubts where you think, well, is he the man before the man? To do that kind of thing. The one thing I will say about Danny Farke, I think tactically there's question marks around him. Doesn't change the game enough during certain phases and parts of play. He's very rigid and very, one system and that's it. But what I will say is clearly a very good man manager. Clearly he's a very good man manager. And you can disagree with the way that he's or dealt with Cresswell and whatnot, but the way that he dealt with the Nonto situation earlier on in the season, the ability to be able to knit that group together in a short period of time and get them playing in the way that they're playing, it's clear that the team are really behind him and they're right on board with doing what's right in front of the fans again. You know, for me, Bielsa changed everything in the way that the club connected and the players connected with the fans, and this is the closest I've seen to it. I'd probably say since maybe Simon Grayson, and Grayson was riding the crest of a wave, and even that deteriorated eventually. So I think fair play to him. He clearly has a lot of respect from the players. Clearly does.
Yeah, I think it's our very own Christopher Bell from the West Yorkshire Football Show. If Leeds do go up, how much is there to sort out in returning loanees? Well, that's going to be fascinating, is that? Because I think if we get to the Premier League, I think there's going to be, you'll hear suddenly agents dropping stories about they can't wait to come back, blah because they want them Premier League wages again. It will be fascinating, but if that happens.
I think there's two very different stories. The one in which we stay up and go up, and the one that we stay down. Rumor has it that in a lot of the contracts there is a 2-year loan release clause. So I would imagine that a lot of them will go back out again if we stay down. If we go up, I would imagine that there'll be some that want to come back, and I would imagine that there'll still be some that want to leave. I can't imagine that many of them will be welcomed back. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 that could probably force a pathway in the squad, but I don't know. You know, even the likes of Jack Harrison and Sinistero would probably consider the most welcome of both kind of tarnished their reputations and feelings with the Leeds fans. So I just think we'll end up seeing mass outgoings, and we'll recoup some of the money, won't we? That's the long and short of it. We have got a lot of expected transfer incomings through them players. So.
Yeah, indeed. Guys, if you could pop a like on the video if you're enjoying the video so far, do subscribe to the channel as well for more content on Leeds as well and our other teams in the region. Alison, good evening. Great 3 points, but with Archie's injury, we need cover plus a left back. Firpo did have a good game, though. We have actually got some post-match comments.
Brownie, I still can't believe I'm in a world in which Firpo's had like 4 good games in a row or whatever. I can't believe that's real life.
There you go, mate. This is 2024 now. These things can happen.
He's found his level. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly, absolutely. Let's have a look then. So Farke says James has suffered adductor strain, so he's likely to miss Saturday's FA Cup tie. Gray overstretched his knee. Farke says he's cautiously optimistic that ligaments are fine and not long term. He does say that credit goes to Norwich. They were one of the best sides that we've played this season. I expected a complicated game. They played brave. For me, I'm more than happy that we won. We had a few problems to handle their possession, but we created the better chances. And in the end, it was a deserved win. It was important that we didn't let them have many chances. This was especially a win over mentality and defensive steel. I'm pleased with this. Yeah, fair enough, I think. Yeah, I mean, sums it up there, Jason. What do you think?
I thought Norwich were one of the best sides we've seen at Ellen Road this year, for sure. Certainly in the way that they kept the ball.
You mean not Huddersfield? Surely Huddersfield, Jason. Come on.
Definitely not Huddersfield.
Yeah.
Bless them. I thought they were decent. And I think that's a fair reflection of the game. We took 3 points away from that game. Just got a little clip on Twitter of Pat going around celebrating after the game. Looks big, looks strong, looks happy. Really nice to see. Really nice to see that. But yeah, Daniel Facco is going to be delighted with that result tonight. He'll be as delighted with that tonight, overcoming a good side in a competitive game as he will be rolling over Ipswich 4-0. I've got no doubt about it. We're taking 6 points off Norwich this season now is also even nicer for him as ex-Norwich manager, innit? So
yeah, indeed. A couple of comments to get through before we wrap things up. Mark, defo think if we don't sign anyone, it'll bite us on the arse and we won't go up. Need good backup for the injuries we're starting to get. Yeah, indeed, it'd be nice to get something in there. Certainly,
I do think it's a huge misstep if we don't sign anybody. Even if it's just one body that can come in and play a real strong part in that back line, I think we have a lot of cover for the rest of the squad. I'd probably like to see a sign of 9, but it looks like Pat's injuries are behind him. So I'm okay with that, as because we have got replacements there. Joseph could come in, Pirot can play there, Rutter could go there, and we could do different stuff in the midfield. I'd still like to see us sign a 10, but the fact is Gio's going to play every minute that is fit. So you then have to kind of work around that. But in that back line, we have too many holes. If Rodon goes down injured, what do we do? If Archie's injured. What do we do? Byram and Firpo always get injured, so we need reinforcements in them areas. Ben Godfrey would be perfect. I always thought it was unrealistic, but because he can play across all the positions, he as a profile would be perfect. But I again, going over all ground that we've already spoke about tonight, I understand the difficulty in the position that the club is in, because you're offering out that loan position to somebody to come in. Why are they going to come in and sit on the bench at Championship level with Leeds United over sitting on the bench in the Premier League with whoever? It just doesn't make sense. So then you have to guarantee him first in football, but you can't because we're pretty much boxed off back there, aren't we?
Yeah.
If Ben Godfrey came in, would you start him at the weekend?
No.
There's an argument to say that you'd start him over Archie, but pretend that the weekend in a cup game, so the next league game.
So,
There's an argument that you say you put him straight in at right back, but it'd feel a little bit wrong, wouldn't it? And Archie probably wouldn't deserve that. So how do you then not guarantee Ben Godfrey, experienced Premier League mid-20s, top quality centre back or defender games? So why would he then sign for us? It's a real tough one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Eric, so happy for Dan James. He's taken so much shit over the last couple of years. Good for him. Yeah, I mean, let's have a word again about Dan James as well, because from that kind of an adductor strain, Jason. I mean, do we know much about kind of time out with that, or what?
I think it's similar to what Stroik's done, no? An abductor problem.
So it could be a week kind of thing.
It can be minimal, it can be manageable, or it could be a few weeks. I would imagine that it'll probably be in the reckoning for Bristol. He was walking on the pitch after the game. I'm just saying that now. But him as a player, he just deserves all the credit in the world. He really does. His attitude. I remember it was me and you saying it about his interview. Well, when we played Manchester United in pre-season, you could just see that he was ready to go. He was, ready to make an impression, and he's always felt like that for me. He was asked to play out of position under Bielsa, and always gave it everything. Playing as a number 9, for God's sake, like he was never a number 9, but he gave it his all. I just love his character, his personality, his attitude, and it's clear that under Daniel Farke, he's really tried to level up his game. The facts are, at this level, he scares defenders to death. He really does scare defenders to death. The goal tonight comes because the fullback is worried that he's going to burst into the space behind him. So he gives him about 5 yards to cross the ball in. So Dan James is like, okay. And he picks out Bamford perfectly. You watch it back, the defender backs off him because he's scared that he's just going to burst to the byline. And Dan James just whips it in from the position that he's in anyway. And the delivery was fantastic. 16 goal contributions this season. Phenomenal. 16 goal contributions. Unbelievable. He's second only to Somerville in the team, who's on 18, I think. And for me, over the last, certainly this year, since the start of January, I think Dan James has been our best player.
Yeah, exactly. Not yet, Chris, is the answer to have I installed Football Manager 24 yet? Not yet, I know. I'm out of date with my Football Manager in at the minute. Mark, not bothered what game it is Saturday. I'm going for the first time in 6 or 7 years and into Leeds with mates. Can't wait. Fantastic.
Enjoy it, Mark.
Yeah, have a brilliant time there. Lovely. So anything else we want to cover, Jason, before we sign off, mate? Good day's work, I think.
Yeah, good day's work. Shame to see it come out with a couple of injuries, a couple of knocks, but fingers crossed they're not too long term. Question for you is: do you think we will sign somebody before the end of the window?
I think we'll do one. I think we'll do one
as well.
I don't know who. I think it might even be someone we've not even heard rumoured or had any links to. I think it could be something like, the 49ers have done that just comes out of the blue. I'm kind of surprised something hasn't been done already a little bit. And it's gonna be fascinating. But I think we'll do something. I do still think we'll do something. I
think we'll do one.
What about you? Yeah, do you think
I think we'll do one. I thought it were going to be Ryan Giles. And the fact that it's not Ryan Giles, I mean, I could be wrong, and Hull could just be offering him a better package, but I believe that the fact that he's gone there over coming to Leeds, it tells me that the club either they just can't not value him because he's a top left back. So it just tells me that they don't think he's as good as Firpo and Byram, which concerns me a little bit for that left back spot. I think we'll sign a centre back. I think we'll sign a centre-back because I think Ampadu's obviously been used there as makeshift, but I 100% believe that Farke sees him more as a 6. I don't think he rates Cooper. I think I don't think he trusts him, and I think he's worried if Rodon goes down. I've not got anybody else. I've not got another right-footed centre back really. Yeah. So I think it'll be a centre back that can also play right back.
By the way, can I ask why is Ben Godfrey what's happened to his career? Like I've not followed it closely, but it was like loads of potential.
Yeah, England.
Is it injuries then? Is that what it is?
He's had some bad injuries. He broke his leg a couple of years ago, and he's progressively played less games year on year. I think he's just kind of lost his way. And now under Sean Dyche, he's just not a Sean Dyche centre back, is he? He's a ball playing centre back, whereas Dyche will want Tarkowski to just jump up and head the ball. So. I can understand why he's probably not getting the chances there, but I still think it's a top signing. He's a Leeds boy, came through Leeds Academy, got released as a lad, went off to play at York, so it'd be nice to hopefully have a story from him kind of coming back and proving that he was a top level centre back or top level defender. I think it'd be a really good signing. That I think it's an ambitious one though.
Yeah, indeed. 9 points off Leicester. Could it?
Yeah,
Could it? Is it?
I mean,
to get within 10 points, I know game in hand and all, but it's still you wouldn't.
They've dropped points recently, haven't they? Look, I don't think they're boxed off yet. They're definitely not boxed off. I think they will take one of the top 2 spots, regardless of whether somebody catches them or not. They're just too good. They're just so good. Even when they don't play well, they're just so good. They just go on and win the games, don't they? So, but look, we're the chaser, aren't we? We're there every week. We just need to go out and do our business. And at the moment, we are, mate. Since the Preston loss, I think the Preston loss came before the West Brom loss, right? But whichever one came second. We've just gone out and been professional. We've had games where we've dominated and won, and we've had games where we've gone out and been professional and won. I'm super happy with the way that things are at the moment. I think we're exactly where we could only hope to be, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just want to share this because this looks as if it's going to be rather amusing, actually. So bear with me 2 moments. Where are we? Our man Georgie. Let's see what he's been up to in the.
I'll see.
Baby, pourquoi tu fais ça? Quand on passe sur ton chemin, toi et moi c'est du passé. Baby Nova, pourquoi tu fais ça?
There we go. He's loving life. A Willie Nonto there as well.
You know what? It's so nice to see Gio having so much fun in it. I bet that dressing room's an absolute blast to be a part of. Because they all seem to be very similar in the way that they carry themselves. They're having a good time. They're having fun. I love to see that. I absolutely love to see that. And he deserves it, man. I mean, he had an hard year.
Personality void, though, hasn't he? In terms of when you've had these characters like Hernandez and Alioski and Phillips, and they all had these great rapport with the crowd, and you needed that new cult hero, didn't you?
100%.
Kind of George, Gio's kind of stepped up in that way. I mean, I don't think we were going to get all this personality from him, did we? As well, not just the on the pitch stuff, but what he's been like.
Well, he's filled that spot, hasn't he, as a bit of a talisman as well. And fair play to him, he's got that stardust about him, and it takes so much for a team to win divisions, win championships, whatever, and a massive part of that is the personality that goes on behind the scenes that we don't see. They will need to want to turn up to training and to play games every day, every week, and it makes a massive part if you're in and around fun like that. And again, I think Daniel Farke deserves credit for that, because he's brought it out of Gio. In the summer, we fully expected Gio Rutter to leave. We didn't really know what we were going to get if he was still here, did we? No. So, and right from the word go, I think Daniel Farke put his arm around him and said, "You're my man. Like, you are my man. Go out there and express yourself." And he's done just that. I love seeing that. Love it.
Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? It's great. Myself and Jason, we will be back tomorrow for the debate show, and we're going to be talking about the FA Cup and why Leeds and the FA Cup just do not gel. Hopefully that will be different on Saturday, but Jason's going to regale us with some heartwarming tales from Histon the game that he was at as well. So some great memories there, Jason. Eh?
I won't go that far. We're lost to the postman. I'll never forget it as long as I live.
Yeah, so some absolute shockers. But we want to delve into why is it Leeds United in the FA Cup just do not gel, and we'll debate that one tomorrow. I want to thank you all for watching live. If you've been with us this evening and commenting, really appreciate that. If you're watching again later, please do like the video and also subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment as well as to what you thought of tonight's game as well. But there we go, Jason. It's another 3 points for Leeds. Transfer window closes in a week. We're getting to the business end now. Every game is going to be so important. But at least we get a nice breather with the FA Cup this weekend, something we can just more or less enjoy, hopefully.
Weekend off.
Yeah, weekend off, exactly. But I've been Stephen Brown. With me has been Jason Booker. Jason, thank you very much, mate.
Thank you, mate.
And we'll see you again tomorrow night. Thanks for watching.